Legislative Resolution Number 320 by Senator Garan, mourning the death of Scott J. Beigel, dedicated teacher, coach, and camp counselor. Whereas it is the sense of this legislative body to recognize and commend the caring concern and heroic acts of individuals who take prompt and appropriate action in emergency situations, nobly risking their own lives in an effort to preserve the lives of others. And whereas, attendant to such concern and full accord with its longstanding traditions, this legislative body is moved to mourn the death of Scott J. Beigel, dedicated teacher, coach, and camp counselor. And whereas Scott J. Beigel made the ultimate sacrifice on February 14th, 2018, when he shielded his students from gunfire during a senseless act of violence at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. He died at the age of 35. And whereas, disregarding his own personal safety and acting in a manner which truly exemplified the hero everyone knew he was, Scott J. Beigel bravely and without hesitation unlocked his classroom door to give shelter to as many students as he could, as an expelled, disgruntled student with a semi-automatic rifle stalked the halls, shooting at anyone in his path. And whereas Scott J. Beigel, who placed his own life in peril to save others, was shot outside his classroom door while trying to lock it, after ushering as many students as he could to safety. Whereas born on October 22nd, 1982, Scott J. Beigel grew up on Long Island before attending the University of Miami. He was a camp counselor at Camp Starlight in Pennsylvania prior to accepting the position to teach geography and coach cross-country at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018. And whereas Scott J. Beigel remains more than a hero in the hearts of his family, friends, colleagues, and students, his bravery and dedication to others will continue to serve as an inspiration to all who have the privilege of knowing him. And whereas a resident of Deerfield Beach, Florida, Scott J. Beigel is survived by his father, Michael Shulman, and his mother, Linda Beigel Shulman, his sister, Melissa Zeck. And whereas Scott J. Beigel, through his spontaneous and heroic actions, demonstrated his character and his compassion for the welfare of others, personifying by virtue of his actions the collective concerns of educators across the state of New York, who voluntarily respond when students, our most precious resource, are subjected to perilous situations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this legislative body pause in its deliberations to mourn the death of Scott J. Beigel, dedicated teacher, coach, and camp counselor, and to express its deepest condolences to his family, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution, suitably engrossed, be transmitted to the family of Scott J. Beigel.
Senator Gorin on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we're going to make history again in this chamber as we take up some very important gun reform bills that make some common sense. But for me, this is about Scott Beigel, who grew up on Long Island, his life, his sacrifice, and his legacy. And on this cold January, where I hear we're going to be getting some snow soon, I have the distinct honor of welcoming his parents, Linda Beigel Shulman and Michael Shulman. They came here from Albany to be here today to witness what we're going to do and also to honor Scott. Scott Beigel, a teacher, a son, brother, coach, a friend, and a true hero. He was shot while protecting his students on Valentine's Day, February 14th. A day of love. He made the ultimate sacrifice. The resolution described what happened with the shooter walking around Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. He ushered his students into the classroom bravely, without any hesitation. He made his classroom a sanctuary for those children. He locked the door, and then he was confronted by the gunman. He saved many students' lives. And I'd just like to read a couple of things that was said by people who were directly impacted in Parkland, Florida that day. One of his students, Kelsey Friend, said, quote, "He was my hero and he will forever be my hero. I'll never forget the actions he took for me and for fellow students in the classroom. He was an amazing person, and I am alive today because of him. He will be missed." And then Jennifer Zeif, the mother of Matthew Zeif, also credits Scott with saving her son's life. She said, quote, "Matthew was the final student to make it into Scott's classroom. Mr. Beigel could have passed Matthew up and gone in the classroom first. In that case, Matthew would have been one in the doorway and would have been lost." As a father, I cannot imagine the pain that the Shulmans and others go through. But I'm so proud of what they have done to turn this tragedy into advocacy, which we will be acting on today. I almost feel like I know Scott, even though I never did, because we actually went to the same high school. Be it I was there a lot earlier than him. But as I walked the halls there, and as I listened to what the students have said, and the parents, and as I've gotten to know the Shulmans, I feel like I've gotten to know Scott. And so nothing can fill the void of losing Scott, but in Scott's honor, this resolution will pass today commemorating him. And Mr. President, I would ask if you would recognize the Shulmans who are here with us today.
On behalf of the Senate, we extend our condolences, applaud Scott's heroism, we recognize his sacrifice, and we thank you for your dedication to his memory.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is on the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is adopted. Senator Janaris.
At the request of Senator Gorin, Mr. President, this resolution is open for co-sponsorship.
It's open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor of the resolution, please notify the desk. Senator Janaris.